Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I don't think it's going to be a precise number. I don't know what that number is. I can't say it's going to be this percent, but we'll know it when we see it. It'll be obvious as the numbers come down rather dramatically. And when they do, we're going to wind up getting really stepwise much, much more towards what we consider approaching a degree of normality, which everyone really quite dramatically notices it. It's on the way. Hang in there.
Hang in there. You know what's funny is Fauci's becoming the one that is like they probably all got in a room one day and said, all right, here's the deal, guys. All of us are going out there. We're crapping over everything, right? You got Ulsterholm over here saying something, CDC director. She's just, she'll come out and say, you know what? Yeah, if you got the shots, you're probably not going to give it to anybody and you're not going to catch it. So why wear a mask? And people are like, oh, my God, he can't say that. So then you rail that back in. And then, you're out there, Fauci, and every day everybody's calling you Debbie Downer. We got to figure something out. Somebody's got to be the person that has some sort of pleasantries. So compared to what he was, say, 10 days ago, Fauci seems like he's the most optimistic person in the room. But then everybody else will come down and say, hold on. It's not true. It's very funny, though. We'll know when we get there. You'll know when your state's there. That's the way you got to look at this. I'll know when my state gets to where it needs to be. Right? Like that's kind of it. When we're not fighting over masks, when, kids are back in school in a normal way, when we're not talking about, whether or not that you're going to have to stay at home today and work from the house because your office is still closed, you'll know when. Not every state's going to be the same, right? But you're going to know when. Is it tomorrow? No. Is it next month? It's possible. Some states feel like they're already there. But you're going to know when you see more people without masks than with masks. When there's no worry about walking into a store and thinking to yourself, God, I left my mask in the car. That's when you're going to go, all right. You just walk in and nobody says anything. You don't get the cockeyed look like, what's that person doing without a mask? Hey, this is the mask store. That's when you'll know. That's when you know. When you see numbers again of people traveling, when there is a sporting event on and it's not limited capacity or no capacity, it's just people going to a sporting event. Each state will do their own thing. It's going to come. It is. And while that's happening, we're still fighting with the fact that unemployment is where unemployment is.
The job market is supposed to be getting better, but you wouldn't know it from the latest numbers reported by the Labor Department. 744,000 laid-off Americans filed first-time claims last week for unemployment benefits. That's higher than the prior week and well above the expectation of economists. It follows, though, a strong monthly hiring report. So economists wonder if this is just a blip or a sign that things are weaker than thought.
No, I think it's just a blip. I think we're getting back. You're still in a situation where some of the bigger populous areas are in a opening up slowly scenario. California, right? From San Francisco down to Los Angeles and San Diego, you still have issues there. It's the most populous state, almost 40 million people, not quite fully open, right? You go look at Michigan. Michigan still having issues as they're opening. Illinois opening slow. New York still having some stuff. Florida. These places are slowly opening up or fully opening up. But it's going to take a while to get back. And it'll bounce back. And then it's going to be like that. It isn't right this second, though. Because there's also, I talked to several business owners. There's a little trepidation, right? Like you're a business owner. How much do you trust your governor? You hear every day, there's a new variant here, there's a new variant there. We need to worry about this. Yesterday, everything's splashed on the paper. And it's all doom scrolling. It's like, the front of the Drudge Report or CNN or Yahoo or Huffington Post or the Daily Kos or wherever you're reading your news from. It's always something else next to it that seems like the next thing around the corner is doom. So you don't know who to hire, right? I need 12 people in normal times. Maybe I could have 6, but I don't want to overstaff at this moment in time because even though we could maybe use 6, the reality is Are we going to have enough people coming here? Because people then are saying, well, do I really need to go spend money right now? I'm not quite sure. That's all the instability that's going on because people don't quite trust the government at this moment in time. These are just little things that over the next several months will slowly but surely dissipate, but it's not going to be overnight. Some of that is psychological. Not all of it, but some of it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. So today, Biden doing the gun thing, right? What's he going to do? It's pretty straightforward what he's going to do. First and foremost, know this. You're going to hear about the guns. You're going to hear about this, and the battle's going to go on. Here's the reality of it. It's going to be a state's issue, and there's always going to be lawsuits. We saw that with Trump. We saw it with Obama, and it became more prevalent over the last several years with each and every president, every single thing. They go judge shop. They try to find the district court that's going to make them, hey, the Ninth Circuit, this, whatever it is that's going to get them the opportunity to eventually have a stay or to get pushed up to the highest court in the land. And right now, if you're a Democratic president and you're looking to take guns on, and I'm going to do some executive orders and do some stuff, but you also know at some point in time, these things that are going to be challenged are going to be going to a court that is leaning right more than it is leaning left. In theory, you would say it's a 6-3. Truth, it's more 5.5 to 3.5 as far as the court goes. But when it comes to the Constitution and guns, that's always the battle that goes on. What kind of gun should you have? New guns, like, you can hear people say, well, when the framers put everything together, there wasn't things called ghost guns.
They're not releasing many specifics. We know the president is expected to sign a series, half dozen or so, of executive actions, including one of them that has to do with these so-called ghost guns. These don't have serial numbers. They're sold in home kits, or they can be assembled at home. They're not subject to background checks. The White House wants the Justice Department to issue a proposed rule that would curb the proliferation of these guns.
Yeah. So, what's a ghost gun? Essentially, it's like, people right now, like 3D printing's huge. Some people want to 3D print guns. Some people buy kits and they're going to, Frankenstein a gun together. Other people are buying kits and they're putting stuff together. There's no serial numbers, no background check. You could build it at home, which makes you think, well, that's scary. Who could get a hold of these things? 99.9% of the people, what do they want to do? Well, say, can I build a gun? Is it going to work? Right? Can I put something together? They're curious. They're gun enthusiasts. Well, it's a gun enthusiast is crazy. Guns aren't going to be taken away. Both sides are going to scream and yell that this wasn't enough, and the other side's going to say it's gone too far. It's just politics. He knows he doesn't have the votes to get anything real done. He's going to do what he can through executive order, which will then be challenged. Welcome to the world of modern politics. If you really want to know who runs the country when it comes to the final say, look no further than the judges, because they'll have the last say in the interpretation of the Constitution and what it is that they see that's out there. And that's just the reality of it, because he doesn't have the votes.
The orders that are being proposed today are likely to be held up in court, to be held up. Also, Republicans are already speaking out about them. But look, gun control measures that are on Capitol Hill that passed in the House are currently stalled. The Democrats just don't have the votes to move this forward right now.
And why is that? Because you've got the likes of Joe Manchin. What's Joe Manchin? Joe Manchin is the second most powerful man in the United States of America when it comes to politics. It's not Kamala Harris, right? The second most powerful person isn't Kamala Harris. It's Joe Manchin. The filibuster, they're not going to get rid of it. Why? Joe Manchin. And also Kirsten Sinema here, who is one of the most powerful people when it comes to politics. Sinema, a senator from Arizona who used to be uber progressive and left and now has become one of the most independent senators in the country. And much like Joe Manchin, she doesn't want to get rid of the filibuster. You have to contend even within your own party. Joe Manchin is in a dead red state, and he's a blue guy. But somehow the blue guy manages to continue to get reelected. Why? Because he does enough when it comes to the red side of the aisle to keep his constituents in his home state happy. And that's good. It's good enough for them. That's why. He's a level-headed guy. He doesn't have the votes, not going to get anything done. All of this is to try to appease as many people on the left, the donors, that look, I'm trying to check off the box of debt and health care and climate change and restoring our values of who we are in America and taking that thing back from Trump. And on top of that, I'm doing everything I possibly can to make sure that I hit this too with guns. It ain't going to happen, though. You know it and I know it. Doesn't mean we can't have a conversation. And the problem is, when you have extremes battling over something, they want extreme measures. And with extreme measures comes nothing that gets done. When you have common sense people who want to sit down and talk about how we should go about doing things with common sense ideas, maybe some reforms without overreach, you could get that done. But they're never invited to the table. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, Masters. I'm so stoked. Got my picks in. I'm excited. I'm watching it all day long. And yes, I am. It's funny. We still calling it. I don't know if you do this, Producer Phil. Do you still call it a TiVo? I'm TiVoing it. Like, you don't have TiVo. But we always say we're TiVoing it.
I say DVR.
Yeah, see, I always say I'm TiVoing it, but I don't have a TiVo. I have my DVR, but I'm going to watch it, rewatch it. I'm so pumped. But the Masters is in the crosshairs because of where it is. Georgia. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about something that took place today, because the Masters starts in a way that, well, quite frankly, is so much different than any other tournament. And it was very interesting to see who started the tournament. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. So much stuff to get today. More on the Derek Chauvin things. And I'm telling you, man, it goes one way, it goes another way. It goes one way, it goes another way. What did you hear? And that's the big question yesterday. What did you hear him say in this? What was that about drugs? We'll talk about that as well. Car Shield. Man, I tell you what. I'm talking with the Car Shield people tomorrow. And they are, because I've asked them in the past, okay, what about complaints, right? Because to me, this is my business. It's what I do. It's my name. And he said, look, we have white glove service. Okay. Not just for your listeners, but for as many people as we possibly can. That's what we want everybody to have. And I said, all right, that's good. Because I want to know everything that goes on when it comes to the people that I represent. And Car Shield is taking care of my family and friends, and people, by the way, that are my friends and family who bought Car Shield and never, they used my code, but they never told me. And they've had issues, and they've been taken care of. Car Shield gets you 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. And that shop is the shop that you choose, which is great. Take it to the dealership. If you want, they get them paid directly. You pay a small deductible. You call them, be specific on what it is that you're looking for, and they'll handle it. They have plans start as low as $99 a month. Call 800-665-2157. Use code Benson to save 10%. Or go to carshield.com, carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Don't make me wear your mask. Are you trying to kill me? What happens if you have corona?
No need to socially distance while listening to your Chad Benson Show podcast. 4 out of 5 experts say so.
I'm a scientist. There is no corona.
But hurry before they change their mind. You know they will. Chad's podcast found on iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, and wherever you find your favorite COVID-free podcasts.
Oh my gosh. I kind of like it. I'm not going to lie.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
I think hearing those sounds, whenever somebody makes an eagle or amazing birdie or hole in one, those sounds down by Amen Corner and then, by 15, 16 are going to be pretty special hearing that again. We haven't heard that in a while.
Bryson DeChambeau, one of the favorites this weekend at the Masters, it kicks off today. And it is like no other tournament in golf. And it's very interesting because it's embroiled in the chaos and craziness of currently what is taking place in the world of politics. And they've had to address that because you've had what's going on in Georgia, which is the new voter, as some people call it. Some people say, hey, it's not about voter suppression. It's about voter security and integrity. And the other side is it's voter suppression. Augusta Golf Chair Fred Ridley had to address the issue, and he did, which is very interesting because the Masters is pretty notorious for saying nothing about any of these things.
Augusta National Golf Club chairman speaking out for the first time on Georgia's voting law, but declined to say whether the institution he represents is for or against the law.
I believe, as does everyone in our organization, that the right to vote is fundamental in our democratic society. No one should be disadvantaged in exercising that right.
And that's true. Nobody should be disadvantaged in exercising the right to vote. Nobody should. They should have the opportunities in front of them to vote. Period. Case closed. That should absolutely happen. He continued to talk about, this and like he's been, again, he's addressing something where people are calling for ESPN and CBS not to play it, for the PGA to say it doesn't count as a tournament, for it's the time to move this from Augusta in Georgia.
I think there's a resolution, and I think that resolution is going to be based on people working together and talking and having constructive dialogue, because that's the way our democratic society works. And while I know you would like for us to make a proclamation on this, I just don't think that is going to be helpful to ultimately reaching a resolution. And so we would like to encourage people to talk, to communicate, to let the democratic process work. And hopefully these fundamentals that I've stated are so important to us, and I think everyone in this room, can be achieved.
Chairman Fred Ridley, Augusta. We're going to talk more about this and also the start of it, because they have the honorary start, and why that is, to me, very interesting, and who started it today. Two players and people who, in a weird way, were on the opposite ends of everything. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Plus updates on what's going on in the Derek Chauvin trials. The Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
They did not smell alcohol on his breath, and nor did they see, according to them, any medications or pills, illicit or legal, on the floor or anywhere in the car that was visible. So it did not appear to them at the outset that he was intoxicated or under the influence. So pretty quickly they ruled that out, but they did not take a toxicology exam of him. There's no blood tested. They did not check his phone, so we don't know if he was texting or not.
Yeah, Tiger Woods. Looks like speeding was the culprit. That's what they're going with, near between what they're saying 75 and 83 miles an hour and a 45, very windy road. Was he on anything? It was early. He was rushed. That's basically where it's going to end. Like, that's it. That's where it's ending. Looks like speeding is the culprit, and on we go. And on we go today. The Masters kicks off, and he's not there. Obviously, he's recovering, and he's, normally they have these nights where they have the champions dinner. So everybody's a champion gets to come to these dinners. That's it. So that's all that's there, right? Everybody's wearing their green jacket, and you get to show up, and you're a champion, and you go, and the winner from the last tournament gets to pick the dinner, right? So that's great. Tiger's not there. Everybody's alive pretty much was there, minus him and I believe one other person who is currently finding himself in jail in a very weird thing. But they start the Masters. Here it is in Georgia, right? So going through all the chaos, going through all the craziness, the voting suppression, election security, whatever you want to call it. They start the Masters how? With an honorary tee shot, essentially. And they have past champions. For years, it was always Arnold Palmer, since passed. This year, it was Jack Nicklaus, who's always there. And then two gentlemen who were on the opposite ends of the world. And it's kind of almost fitting in this day and age. Show you, look, that this isn't, the world's changed in so many ways, and there's so many great things that have happened, but we don't focus on that. We focus on the negative. We focus on the if it bleeds, it leads. Because that's where the controversy is. Where the controversy comes fighting, where fighting comes people watching stuff, right? That's what life has become, and that's sad that we're in that moment in time. And I think it's because we live in a world of instantaneousness, so we need a rush of something to get what would be normal endorphins kicking in over a period of time, maybe 20 years ago. But we need that fight, that, oh my God, just to get that fix. Two guys on the opposite end of the world started it. First one, Gary Player, South African golfer, won 3 green jackets, one of the great golfers of all time, but a guy who supported apartheid. A guy who supported apartheid in a way where he talked about apartheid and said, I must say now and clearly that I am a South African and verwoord and apartheid, which is the policies of the boy. He even wrote a book about it. Talked about maintaining civilized values and standards amongst the alien barbarians. He goes, the African may well believe in witchcraft and primitive magic practices, ritual murder and polygamy. His wealth is cattle. And he went after them. People completely disagreed with him. And, there was a time when, I'm old enough to remember Sun City. I'm old enough to remember the fact that there was this two worlds where you didn't go to South Africa, and some people did. Bands did, U2, Queen and stuff, and they essentially went to Sun City to play, and it was very interesting. But this is a guy who's starting it. Now, he changed completely. He disavowed apartheid, disavowed all of this, says it was a cancerous system, says we got rid of apartheid. He started today, but the other person who started today was Lee Elder. Lee Elder was the first black man to play in the Masters, the first African American. He missed the cut, but he was invited because he won a tournament, the Monsanto Open in 1974. So think about this, 1975. I was 4 years old. This is the first time he gets to play in the Masters, any African American. Great golfers that were just completely ignored for years. And this Jackie Robinson had long since broken the barrier, right? We were past that point. That's 1975. He had to deal with stuff that was insane, absolutely insane, on his run up to the Masters. What his life was like on tour, substantial death threats, thinking he was going to get killed while he was on the course. They kept renting homes. So he had, every night he was there, they had different homes. They were moving around like he was Pablo Escobar trying to hide. People tried to attack him when he was eating. To the point where in some places that he played, the black players weren't even allowed to go in the clubhouses. They had to change in the parking lot even though they were going to play. The caddies got better treatment. It's very interesting, though, how far we've come. And the two talked about that and embraced each other today. Lee's in failing health. He couldn't even swing a club today. He was on oxygen, but he was there. It's interesting. We've come so far. And you got two men now who champion bringing, the great Gary Player now champions bringing kids, black kids and white kids and from poor areas into golf and giving them chances they would never have. And Lee Elder still continues to this day to talk about racism. We can have conversations, and we can also look how far we've come because we don't ever do that. We're so critical of everything all the time. We're so critical all the time about how bad we are in this country, right? How bad we are in this nation. How we never, ever seem to ever do anything right. And I sit there and I think, you guys have no idea how far we've come. We've got to get past so much of this stuff and start to say, hey, look, you know what? Whatever, I always go back to, was that Men in Black, right? Because it wasn't really Edgar. So if you've ever seen Men in Black, Edgar is one of the guys in the movie who's the alien. Essentially, it's a meat suit because the aliens come down and take over Edgar, and it's just a meat suit. It's kind of what everything is, right? Like it's just a different suit. What's your belief? That's who you really are. It's not the color of your skin. It's what's your belief. That's where the diversity of the world is. It's inside where you can have conversations. We don't do that. We don't celebrate where we've come from because we're too busy condemning the past. And that is not a good way to move forward. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. So the trial of Derek Chauvin and George Floyd, because this is what it's becoming now. So Derek Chauvin's on trial, but so is George Floyd. And part of the reason is when you're trying to present a case, you've got to figure out how to present that case. And the thing that they're doing now is they're presenting a case when it comes to George Floyd of he did not die from being strangled essentially by Derek Chauvin's knee on top of him. He didn't do that. Yesterday, Jody Stinger, Sergeant, and Steve Schleider here talking about the pressure on the body of George Floyd.
Is the risk related to the pressure on the neck or the pressure on the body?
It's the pressure on the body. Any additional pressure on the body complicates breathing more so than if there was no pressure at all.
Of course. Yeah, you can put pressure on. Pressure on the body in a situation where, they're debating now, was your knee on his shoulder blade, right? Was it on his back at times? Was that full pressure? Was there no pressure? Then, of course, one of their defense has been, hey, you know what? Well, he's trying to do everything. He was also distracted, worrying about the crowd and what was going on.
Because he was in the prone position, he was handcuffed, he was not attempting to resist. He was not attempting to assault the officers, kick, punch, or anything of that nature.
Yeah. So Floyd wasn't a threat. The crowd wasn't a threat. Why was he still there? And they're bringing in witness after witness. And I talked to a lawyer yesterday, Monica Lindstrom, he's here on Court TV and stuff, and Monica and I were chatting, and she says, the problem right now is you're continuing to try this over and over again. All right? No matter how many witnesses you bring up, we get it. You're bringing up witness after witness saying the same thing. Now it's just you're beating a dead horse. Now it's time to move on because everybody is trying to get to the point where we can sit back and say, okay, what's new? We get what your side's saying. We understand what your side's saying. But the reality is this is always going to be about the two juxtaposing positions when it comes to the medical examiner's report from Hempton County and Dr. Baker, and then over here, the experts that they're going to bring in when it comes to George Floyd's autopsy done by an independent. And the drug issue. And that drug issue is, well, that's real. And that's something that just can't be ignored. And one of the things that they were talking about, and remember, you only need one or two. You're looking for that reasonable doubt. One of the things you're talking about is you can hear him say something about drugs. I ain't do drugs, or I ate too much drugs. That is what they're trying to figure out now. What did he say? I've listened to it. It's hard to hear. I thought he said I ate too many drugs. That's scary. Because if you're the defense, you're like, and they're even getting people, yeah, I can hear it. If you're the defense and you're laying this out, and prosecutions listen to this, and the drugs that were in his system, that's fentanyl. Fentanyl is evil.
Both of those cases, the fentanyl concentration was less than 1%.
Less than 1%. Can that kill? That's always a question, too.
When I've quantitated fentanyl in powders or tablets, generally we see levels that are low and less than 1% or maybe slightly above 1%.
All right. And this is the trial that's going on. So you're trying Derek Chauvin, but you're also trying George Floyd, because your goal is to say, look, yes, the entire process of the police coming out there, his having a panic attack, him being on drugs, the way that he was acting pre the police even showing up inside of the store, then the panic attack, then the fact that he is fighting back at times before they get him on the ground. It was more of a domino effect that led to him having a heart attack rather than him being strangled to death. And that's why the medical reports are going to be the thing that matters. All this other stuff, I think we could have done without 90% of it. It's who are you going to believe? Because either the person who did the first autopsy, Dr. Baker from Hennepin County, he's a liar or he's bad at his job, or the other side is lying or they're bad at their job. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from each and every single one of you. We talk a little UFOs because you know I like that. Tom Brady, man, he can't lose, even when it comes to things like playing cards. Oh, my goodness. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, fastest growing, over 50 organization in the country. And let me tell you something. They're amazing what they do. Right now they're fighting in D.C. for things like common sense immigration reform. We see what's going on the border. On top of that, they're out there protecting your First and Second Amendment. They see what's happening in the world of cancel culture, but it's not really cancel culture. It's about freedom of speech and your gun rights. Top of all of that, they got great benefits. Retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, and so much more. Plus, they'll help you through all of the things that you have questions for, especially as you approach the age of whether or not you're going to take, Medicare, is there supplemental insurance? Can you guys help me with that? Yeah. Should I take Social Security? Can you guys help me with that? What's the best avenue and route for me? They've got those questions answered for you already. Join them today, amac.us/Chad. When you join, simple and easy. It's less than $16 a year, something like that. It's like $16. It's pennies a day. And it's great benefits. amac.us/Chad. amac.us/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Helen Keller is a Nazi terrorist that is a male. Is that what you're telling me right now?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of Hitler?
Who's Hitler?
Vaccines work, but only the Chad Benson Show is 100% effective against stupidity.
Do you know what D-Day is? D-Day.
A person? A rapper?
God, Karen, you are so stupid.
Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and wherever you find your favorite woke-free podcasts. This is the Chad Benson Show.
Speaking of rappers, DMX doesn't look good for him, the rapper. Overdosed, heart attack, and looks like a situation where they did a brain function test on him yesterday, and he's in a vegetative state. And it's funny when you hear his family's like they're like he's getting better at all these things. When you're his managers and the people that work with him are like, he ain't making it. And that brain function test, I remember when they did that to my dad. And, it's like, look, the heart, whatever. I mean, he's just not there. Like, there's no reactions. Nothing's firing. And it doesn't look good at all for DMX. Guy had a lot of problems. I think somebody said the other day, I'm surprised he lived this long. I think you say a lot of rock stars, right? And rappers and people. Like, I'm surprised he lived that long. And I think when they get to a certain age, they're like, can't believe I lived this long. But that struggle never got away. And you see it sometimes. And then you go to the other side of the world where it just seems to be charmed. Everything happens for somebody. It's just nonstop. It's like everything goes his way. It's like he must have either, if you believe in past lives, his last life must have been awful, and this was his makeup. Right? It's like this was the makeup side of things. Or he made a deal with the devil. I don't know. But even Tom Brady's cards. His cards are gold. Case in point, an autographed rookie card.
Tom Brady isn't just setting records on the field these days. The 43-year-old 7-time Super Bowl champion just broke the record for trading cards. An autographed Brady rookie card just sold for $2.25 million, the largest price tag for any football card ever.
It's surreal, and it makes me want to go check all my cards that I have stored, thinking there's got to be one in there somewhere. I mean, I kept all these cards for all these years.
Yeah, get on the non-fungible token as well as Gronk is doing, but he's got one around, right?
When I was coming out, I was trying to make some money. My agent, Steve, was like, got a trading card deal for you. Sign 1,000 cards and they're going to pay you 20 cents a card. And I was like, 20 cents a card? 5, whatever. I'm going to be rich. This is unbelievable. 21 years later, you see these cards that are worth that kind of money. I definitely should have kept some of them, but whatever. I think it all worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I think you're doing all right. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, Instagram. Check out the podcast as well. It is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
So if I have to get a vaccine on my passport, so be it. If you're so scared or so intent, or you're some Republican male who wants to screw around with the libs or something, then don't come on the cruise with me, okay? And also this idea that it's a privacy issue. This is an invasion of my privacy when you are sick in the same building as I am in. I am totally against you coming anywhere near me without a vaccine.
Why? That's not very nice. Just curious. That's not a very nice thing to say, right? Is it? Is it invasion of privacy? Well, yeah, of course. And by the way, you know what? Feel free to give away all, you want a little bit of safety, feel free to give away all of your stuff. I don't really care. Joy Behar. And by the way, they're not giving you a vaccine passport where they stamp it. My God. First of all, you don't get to have a conversation anymore now because you're an idiot when it comes to stuff like this. What if I don't have a passport and I got the vaccine? I know a lot of people, by the way, on the left side of the aisle who are like, I'm not getting the vaccine. Why aren't you getting it? I don't feel I need it. Okay. I've got a couple friends who are very hippy-dippy, right? We grew up together, love them, but they're super hippy-dippy. I always joke about that. And if you were to go, hey, let's go to Central Casting. Let's see if we can find some people who have a microbus and play disc golf. Found them. They're not getting it. No, man, I don't need it. I'm healthy. I'm good. I don't buy into a lot of that stuff. The reason people are dying is because they're not white Republican males, right? One's white, super duper liberal, and the other one's Asian. It's super duper liberal. And they're not. Sorry. And I've got the vaccine, but no, I'm not. I don't want no passport. I don't care. By the way, Joy, no offense. If you were on a cruise, I'd be like, I'm going to jump overboard. See you guys. Have a wonderful time. I'll take my chances with the big fish, the sharks, and the current, and yeah. That's just nuts. I won't get near anybody who's got potentially has the cooties.
And I would like you to prove it. Right. Don't the kids have to get vaccines to get into school? Don't you have to get a malaria vaccine in order to go to certain countries? I mean, come on. It's logical. Yes. It's as Sonny says, it's a public safety issue. It's not a political issue, so get over it.
It's not a political issue. No, it is a political issue for some. It's not about the vaccine. It's about who gets to track you with the vaccine. Is it big tech? Is it the government? Right? Who does? Who gets to do that? Who gets to be the keeper of you and your health side of things? I'm just a little curious about that. Benjamin Franklin, famous quote, right? It's used all the time. It's always out of context. People don't really quite get, they don't say it right because, like everything, gets passed down and it gets chopped up. But the actual quote, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. We've given up a lot of liberties. We have. Too many at times, not understanding it because we're always interested in the world of safety. That's why, no matter how, over the last 5 years, you talk about how much safer the world's got, how much better everything is comparatively to what it was 25, 30 years ago. It doesn't matter because all we focus on is the bad things. That's bad sales. You go on television, right? And it's just it bleeds, it leads. Everything's bad. We've gotten to the point now when something does happen, a horrific shooting. We have this bubble that we're in, right? Like this safety bubble. And Malcolm Gladwell talks about it, that once that bubble gets burst, we think it's an everyday, every hour occurrence all the time. And you find out and you go back and you're like, well, it's really not. In fact, it's less than it was. And people kind of bend some of the facts and it's like, it shows you that this desire to feel like we're safe all the time from everything. Life is about risk, and we take risk. Here's my thing. If you're that terrified to be around somebody who's not vaccinated, right? So they're not vaccinated. But you've got the vaccine. Don't you feel like the vaccine could work and that's why you got it? What if that person, for religious reasons, doesn't get the vaccine? Is their religion stupid? What if that person, for reasons like true medical reasons, the reaction would potentially kill them and be far worse than the potential of COVID itself? Are they bad? So we're just going to eliminate? That's the kind of stuff that's insane. And that's what drives us. And it's funny because you can go into computers, it's always about white male Republicans. All the while you're the ones who are like, I want to exclude somebody from this. And that doesn't help. We have a lady here in Arizona. There's a big debate because she's having supposedly a party. It's like her 50th birthday party, but on the thing it says vaccinated people only. And people are like, well, what would you do? What would I do? Well, first of all, anytime I can get out of a party, give me a reason to have an excuse that I don't even have to think of. I'm in. Oh, I'm not vaccinated. You've been vaccinated. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't want to go to the party. I wouldn't, would you invite people who are not vaccinated? Yeah. What do I care? Right? Life's about risk. And if I've got the vaccine and I've already had it, I feel pretty good about my odds. I'm not going to live my life in fear. I'm not going to stop doing things. I'm not. And I'm sure in the hell not going to treat people in a different way because they choose not to get vaccinated for whatever reason. Now, if you think you're going to grow a tail or you've been microchipped, I might poke fun at you. But in saying that, I would never treat you different. And there are people I work with who do treat people different because they're choosing not to get it. And I'm like, man, that is so weird. It is. It reminds me of, you go back to the 80s and the AIDS epidemic. Right? Like imagine if she said this about AIDS. People are like, oh, my God, that's awful. That's what we know of it now. But you go back to the AIDS epidemic in the 80s, and you go back to somebody like Ryan White. Right? Is that his name? His name's Ryan White, right? The little boy who had a blood transfusion, and then he had HIV and AIDS, and he ended up dying. But like they kicked him out of school. Nobody wanted to be around him. Parents raised the alarm because we didn't really understand it then. And it's you sit back and you're like, my goodness. You know how you could or couldn't catch it? Could it become airborne? Right? If I touch somebody, could I get it on them? Could it get on me? Those kind of things. It's bizarre that we would think about it now. Like, it's like, my goodness. You know, you wouldn't think about if somebody had HIV, you're like, whatever. It's like, you know what, you're going to have the normal life as pretty much anybody else at this point in time, as far as, you know, the life expectancy is nearly the same, and they've come so far. But there was a time when that was like, ugh. And I remember when my dad died, we had a funeral because we were allowed to do that back then because there wasn't this weirdness of not allowing people to go to funerals. And my cousin Ricky showed up. And Ricky was dying. It was weeks, but he loved my dad. And we went over and gave him a hug. He was 6'1", maybe 115 pounds, 120 pounds. You could tell it was just he was done. And but people were like, ugh, like, you know, to us. And even after we did that, and that's like so bizarre that we would do that nowadays. And yet at the same time, you know, it's always the white Republican male. It's always your fault. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Today, it's about guns. It's about the measures that could potentially come from, yes, Biden. And Biden's made a lot of promises, as he tends to do, as every politician tends to do, on the campaign trail. And guns are one of those things. Reining guns in. It's only so much you're going to be able to do because we, of course, have courts. And courts, well, they're going to tie stuff up forever.
They're not releasing many specifics. We know the president is expected to sign a series, half dozen or so, of executive actions, including one of them that has to do with these so-called ghost guns. These don't have serial numbers. They're sold in home kits, or they can be assembled at home. They're not subject to background checks. The White House wants the Justice Department to issue a proposed rule that would curb the proliferation of these guns.
Yeah, I mean, that all sounds great, you know, because ghost guns, very interesting, you know, like ghost guns. And there's no serial numbers. It's like getting a burner phone, essentially, if you want to. Because when you think somebody has a burner phone, the first thing you think of is, this guy's got a burner phone. It means what? It means that they're probably up to no good, right? And they're probably going to use this. But it's an improvised firearm, right? Doesn't have any serial numbers. And it scares police in ways because, yeah, you go and you use it in a crime, which obviously will happen. What ends up happening? You know, there's no way to really trace. There's no traceability as they talk about it. On the other side of things, constitutionally, is your right to own a gun? Yeah. Maintain the privacy of gun owners? Yeah, that's right. Individuals that are having build parties, right? 99.9% of the people that are doing this were people that were curious. Can I build something? Can I put something together? They're enthusiasts of the firearm. They're not criminals. Criminals will still do what criminals do. That's just the reality of it. So this is where he's going to focus. Because he knows he's not getting rid of assault weapons. The assault weapons, but any of these things are going to be in the courts for a long time. So he's going to do what he thinks he can do to make it look like he's going to try to make an effort to do something, because it's a promise he made. At the same time, it's not going to be enough for some, and it's going to be too much for others. But this is just what politics looks like nowadays. And if you really want the answer of the final answer, you're going to have to look to the courts, because they're the ones who will come to the final answer. And right now, that big court with the 9 leads a little right. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Home title lock. You see what is going on with home prices. Right now, it is a seller's market. We talked about it the other day. Lady puts her house up for sale here, right? She's had it for a while. She's hoping to get like $400,000 for it. Maybe $300,000 or $400,000. She wasn't quite sure. She got 77 cash offers within 24 hours. Sold her house for almost double what she was hoping to get for it. There was a lot of equity in that. Imagine if that equity was stolen. It's happening more and more. It's easier to do. Home Title Lock is here to protect you from that, to make sure that if anybody messes with your title, and it's not hard. You don't need to be a genius to do this stuff. It's all about forgery. And how hard is that? Not very hard, because everything's public record. They forge your signature. They quit claim the deeds to themselves as if you sold them the property. They take out loans against your home, and you're going to be responsible for them. Don't let that happen to you. Home Title Lock's there to protect you. Get 30 days free protection. See if you've been a victim. Go on and put your address in. HomeTitleLock.com. Use code RADIO. They're going to make sure that no matter what happens to your title, you're alerted to it so you can get in front of it before it's too late. HomeTitleLock.com, code RADIO. HomeTitleLock.com, code RADIO. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's take a look and see what's trending. Start first and foremost in the magical world of Google. Jack Hanna trending, celebrity zookeeper, diagnosed yesterday with dementia. He left the Columbus Zoo in October of last year, and his family came out and basically said that he's been struggling with dementia for a while, and he's no longer able to do public appearances. And, he has great days and other days, and, it's just... Guy is somebody who loves animals like me, and especially things like reptiles and exotic animals. It's very, sad to see because he's one of those people that brought animals to the world in a way that, it was awesome. Marlon Perkins. Remember Marlon Perkins? Tiger Woods trending, and not because of golf, because of the accident yesterday. They released the findings, and essentially it was speed. Were there drugs involved? Nobody knows. There was no toxicology. There was no breathalyzer. At this moment, speed is the culprit, and I think it's going to just live with that final ruling is why it crashed. And the Masters is number one trending right now because it starts today. And, of course, with all of the craziness and chaos that's going on in the world of politics, you throw in Georgia and the Masters and voting rights, and you have it dead square in the middle of it. And that's the battle that's continuing to go on. And the Masters chairman of Augusta, Fred Ridley came out and said yesterday, he said a few things, but he walked a fine line, which is the fact that he said anything was news in itself. Going over to Google, find out the things that are fighting, and Peter Thiel is trending. This is a guy who's got a lot of cachet in the Silicon Valley world, with little things like, PayPal and other stuff, saying, hey, look, these big, huge tech companies, they're helping China in a lot of different ways get to the places that China wants to get to, and that their woke culture is hurting us. Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot to that. Is it all that? No. But there is a lot to that. Corona vaccine trending because, corona vaccine everywhere. Did you get your vaccine? Have you got your vaccine yet? And the B117 variant, first discovered in the UK, is now the most common strain of COVID in the United States of America. So you have the UK variant, the South African variant, B1351, the Brazilian variant, and the California variant. Let me ask you a question, Phil. Is there a China variant, or is that racist?
I think you just made a racist there, Chad.
I just made a racist in there. Okay. Remember when it was like the Wuhan? And now, but it's okay to call it the UK variant, or the South African variant, or the Brazilian variant. Oh, my Lord. Welcome to the world of wacky and weirdness. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I don't think it's going to be a precise number. I don't know what that number is. I can't say it's going to be this percent, but we'll know it when we see it. It'll be obvious as the numbers come down rather dramatically. And when they do, we're going to wind up getting really stepwise much, much more towards what we consider approaching a degree of normality, which everyone really quite dramatically notices it. It's on the way. Hang in there.
He was once the downer. Now he's the upper, if you will, when it comes to the coronavirus. Because Fauci was. I mean, we talk about it. I mean, every time we come on TV, it was like, hey, tomorrow something bad could happen. You never know. The variant could be around the corner. It's going to eat you all. It's like, it was always, but then you had Ulsterholm, and then you had, who was one of the doctors that's always out there as part of an advisory committee working for Biden, and he's always talking about how this is here comes another surge. A surge is coming. It's nonsense. You can't stop it. And then you had Rochelle Walensky, who's the doctor that oversees the CDC, who 1 minute she's like, yeah, you know what? If you have the vaccine, and you're probably not going to catch it. There's no real chance of you doing that. And you're not going to give it to anybody. So, wearing a mask may not be something you have to do. And then 5 minutes later, she's like, no, you definitely need to wear a mask because everything I just said was baloney. And I've read several articles last night where they just juxtaposed everything she said. And they're like, they have a problem and a messaging problem at the CDC, which has been one of the big issues. In seriousness, and one of the reasons we don't get stuff done is because we live in a world now where disinformation and misinformation are more prevalent than truth. And that's not a good thing, right? Then you throw in activism journalism, where you're more worried about whose feelings you're not going to hurt, even if the truth is out there, right? Say, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and this could hurt some people's feelings. This could make people look bad or some. So I'm going to be more of this. It's hard to know what's the truth. But when you have the CDC, right? Like, so here's something you're supposed to be as you're non-biased, right? You look at science and the medical world. But politics now has the intersectionality of everything. Has all just politics, pop culture, sports, science, art, entertainment. It's all intertwined now. When you have that and you get involved in that, you have no choice. Messaging, it's the most important thing. It's the first step of doing anything. And so when you don't believe anything, some people are inherently, they disbelieve everything, right? And the things that they do believe is because they're trying, like the whole QAnon thing. The thing about QAnon is people were looking for something. A lot of them felt disenfranchised. They had, and QAnon's been around long before Trump. But it's also a place where a lot of people want to feel like they walk in a room and it's like, you know what? I know a lot more than you guys do, right? I know a lot more than you guys do. You guys don't know what's really going on. I know what's going on. There's a lot to that. There is. But you even take away the QAnon side of things. We don't trust our media anymore. And because we don't trust our media, we go to the places that will affirm our beliefs because our beliefs are about the only thing we can trust, even if our beliefs are wrong. And so you look at the CDC and their messaging has been horrible. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, right? You don't have to wash your hands every 20 minutes. You should wash your hands every 5 minutes. If you've got the vaccine, basically you're not going to give it to anybody or get it from anybody. It's a small possibility. So you don't have to wear a mask. That should be something that we could look at. No. That's all. Nobody trusts you. And when you've lost that trust, people are going to do their own thing. Fauci was one of those people. Remember at the beginning of this, right? You go back because if it was a normal president, and by that I mean a president that wasn't Trump in the sense that let's say Pence was president. People held Fauci in some people would not have held him in the highest esteem the way that a lot of people did because he came out originally. Remember, I think it was February last year when he came out and said, we don't need to worry about this variant and these things that are happening over there. We'll be watching it, but it's really not going to affect us here in the United States. And then he went through the mask thing. You guys don't need to wear a mask. Why? Well, those ended up being wrong. One of them ended up being a lie. He said, I didn't want people to go out and buy all these masks because we need them for first responders and healthcare workers. But that was overridden every time when it comes to what got coverage because there was a bombastic, loud person in the White House who everybody was focusing on. Messaging is important. If you can't believe stuff, and I tell everybody, I am an open-minded skeptic. I look around and I'm skeptical on a lot of things I see and hear and read. I'm open-minded to say, yeah, if this is the data and this is real and I'm going to do my research, then I'll believe it. I'm not going to be a non-believer in something. But I need to see the data first. I need to see the actual facts. But what's happened now is the messaging that's coming is a messaging that is mixed at best and at worst is being politicized to the point where it's just tough to pay attention or even care. And when people stop caring, that's worse than people pushing back. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Flying. Will people fly? Fauci talked about that.
Right now, flying, because of the HEPA filter, because of the use of masks, it is a risk to fly, but it's a small risk. The more infection you get in the community, the greater the risk. Okay. So if we get more and more people vaccinated, by the time we get to the summer, the risk of flying will be even less than it is now.
Yeah. That's good. It's if you're wearing a mask, you're on a plane, you've been vaccinated, just get on with your life. That's risk. First of all, you get on an airplane. You're getting on an airplane. You're getting on a vehicle, right? A ship, an airplane, a singular tube made of metal with 50,000 quadrillion parts in it and wires running everywhere and fuel and all of this stuff, and it's going to be lifting off, and it's got powerful engines, and then the wings are going to, and then up they go, and oh my, you're already doing that. That in itself is a risk. Is driving it to the airport and everything else. That's the way you wear a seatbelt, right? To try to mitigate the risk. That's why they do safety checks on airplanes and go over and over and over again. Why? To try to mitigate the risk. That's why people go out and they get the vaccine, try to mitigate the risk. But it's funny he's talking about that and flying and the risk. And then yesterday, all the airline companies are seeing the bump and they're saying, hey, we need to really start thinking about what we're going to do now because we've laid some people off. A lot of people decided that they were going to retire. They were going to take early retirement and bounce and get out of this. So we better start training new pilots. And United's like, yeah, we're going to do that. And you know what we're going to do? We want diversity in the skies. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean?
United announcing that it will be opening a new pilot training academy in the Phoenix area this year. Now they're planning on opening up what they call the AVA Pilot Training Academy, and they're making a specific goal. They plan to train 5,000 new pilots, so bring 5,000 pilots in, have them flying for United by 2030. Their goal is that 50% of the new pilots will be either women or people of color.
Okay. Okay. All right. So is that like, is that a mandate? Is that what you guys are pushing? How about we're going to have 100% competency? I don't care if your airline pilot is a transgender, right? You know, identifies as a man or woman or neither. Black, white, green, orange. I don't care. The thing I care about, and the utmost important thing of all, Producer Phil, I think maybe you'll agree with me. You are a person who loves to travel. Would it be the taking off and landing of the airplane safely? Would that be the most important thing?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay. I want to know. There are some places where you're like, look, diversity's great, and we need to figure out a way to get people who may never thought about a career in flying and travel like this, and getting them the opportunity to do this, and they're more than capable of doing it. But I always worry about stuff when I feel like it's a, hey, for the sake of optics, I just want the best pilot. Can we all agree that the best pilot should be the pilot that flies the plane, regardless of skin color, right? I don't care about the skin color. I know a lot of people do. A lot of people in life, that's important to them. But I can tell you this: if my choice is, right, if there's a bunch of white people on an airplane, that's all that's on. Flying in the airplane is a black pilot, Asian pilot, a woman of color, whatever it is. But they're the best pilot there, and it's all the people in there. I mean, Klansmen. I mean, but they're like, hey, this is the best person ever, and we're going to be flying through some storms. This is going to be nasty, and this person's going to land this plane. Period. Case closed. End of story. People are like, well, you know what? I'm good with that, right? So it's just a pilot. You know, it's just get me to point A to point B, but I want to get there safely, and falling 35,000 feet out of the air sounds like a nightmare, and I'm going to pass on that. So we'll just go with the best one. I always would. I don't care. And the same thing. I think if you put, the plane was full of people, African Americans, right? Entire plane full of African Americans. And they're like, oh, the pilot up front, he's white. Oh. But he's the best pilot we've got. Period. Case closed. Or she's the best pilot in the world. Okay. I don't care. Why? Because when it comes to certain things, what matters is the actual job itself and doing the job. You expand into areas and you try to get people who never thought about it. But I always worry about things like this where I feel like you're trying to check boxes when, you know what? No. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Tweet at us. Oh, you're just scared. Now, I would tell you this. The best pilot I've flown with, my friend, Chris Green. He was English and still is very English, and he was a pilot for many years and is retired. But I flew on several occasions with him, and he used to let me ride in the cockpit. But on several occasions, there was the head chief pilot was a woman, and she was one of the first to do it, to fly the 747s back when those were prevalent everywhere. And he used to tell me all the time, she's like, the best. Let me tell you something. If the wigs fall off, she'll figure out how to land us. I was like, that's all I needed to know. I know some people get weirded out by stuff like that. I care about the actual job itself. Maybe that's why I'm the odd person out, if you will. Maybe. Rough Green, speaking of odd, my dog, living the dream, which is being alive. I know that sounds weird, but my dog Doodle last year, we were really close to putting him to sleep. So Doodle got a reprieve, and the reprieve was Canine from VitaSmart. Now, the dog food we gave him, we tried everything. We got to the point where we were going to the vet and getting the super expensive kind because we thought, but that food is meant to live in a bag or inside of a can still, and so it's lacking a lot of things. So he had really bad arthritic hips, his joints were really bad, and he had fatty tumors on the back of his legs, and there was just nothing we seemed to do. We were going to put him to sleep. We started getting him Canine VitaSmart from Rough Greens, and within 7 days, you're like, wow, this is totally different. Within 10 days, it was boom, a year plus into this thing, and he is living his best little life, and that's all I wanted. He's got vitamins, minerals, vegetables, everything your dog's food is lacking, omega-3, 6, and 9, and right now, Rough Greens is going to put themselves to the test by doing what, Chad? I'll tell you, Chad. Giving you the bag for free, you pay for shipping. All you have to do is go to roughgreens.com/Chad, ruffgreens.com/Chad, or call 833-MY-DOG-77, 833-MY-DOG-77. You do that, they're going to ship you a bag for free. You pay for shipping. Rough Greens, make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Welcome to Chad. No, not the country. The institution. The Chad Benson Show.
Masters kicks off today. Can't have anything anymore without any kind of controversy. everything in the world needs to have some controversy. We were just talking about controversy. I asked a few people around here. I said, because Phil and I were joking about it. I said, hey. And Phil said, Chad, I think you just made a racism, because we were laughing about the fact that the number one strain that's here in the United States as far as COVID is the UK variant. And I'm also, you can call it the Brazilian variant, the UK variant, right? The California variant. But when you said the Wuhan virus, it's like, oh, that's racism. Like, oh, it is? First of all, Wuhan's a place. I want to let you guys know. The virus is a virus, and Wuhan is a place. California is not a person. There's probably some hippies out there. God, it's my friend California. But that we know what we're talking about, right? You guys, you get that. It's just so bizarre. It's like, yeah, you can't say that. How dare you do that? Oh, my God, Chad. What are you thinking? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Tacos. Lots of them. Too many? Equal death.
Dana Andrew Hutchings came to Chancey Park with an appetite. He told a fellow Grizzlies fan he'd starved himself all day so he could win an amateur taco eating contest between innings. And he may have foreshadowed the
By the way, just to let you know, amateur, because we're not a trained professional.
Trouble to come.
But he also mentioned that he was diabetic and he'd had some beer and it was hot outside.
Eric Schmidt says he offered Hutchings some food, but he was saving himself for tacos. And then he popped up on the Jumbotron video screen, winning the competition.
So he won the competition, right? So he goes there. This is the AAA, because AAA baseball and these kind of things are just always fun. They do all these funny things. So Fresno Grizzlies. So he goes there. It's a taco eating competition, and he's training for it, but he's got issues. He's training for it by not eating, and he wins.
He ate about half the sheet of tacos, and then he stopped because you could tell there was too much food in him. And then I think he kind of chewed a little bit more and then started on another one, then the screen blacked out.
Hutchings choked during the contest. Emergency medical personnel at the stadium rushed in to help and got him to a nearby hospital.
And once he got to the emergency room, staff was having to clear food out of his airway, and then complications continued, and a little less than 30 minutes later, he ended up passing away.
Yeah. This is a few years ago. He's now suing across the board, claiming negligence, excluding the Fresno Bees, and according to the Fresno Bee, suing the baseball team and pretty much anybody else that participated in this. It's, what do you say at this point? Again, what can you say? You entered a contest. You weren't in the best of health. You'd had some drinks. You ate too much. You choked. They did everything they could to try to save you, and now they're in trouble. I wonder what they'll settle for him, because they're going to settle. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I think we're just headed more and more towards a completely divided nation where we will have red states and blue states with entirely different comfort levels and laws. And we are heading more and more towards the most divided America of our time. And this is just another example of that.
Of course it is. Is it really the most divided times? Well, I always hearken back to a day when we had other divided times where we picked up guns and we decided, hey, let's fight each other. Wait, what? Yeah, we picked up guns and we said, hey, I don't like you because you believe that this person over here is no more than property. And we do not believe that. Oh no. Those are pretty divided times, right? This wasn't just, people in the upper eastern seaboard fought people in the south, right? It was brother versus brother, family versus family at times, neighbor versus neighbor. That was pretty divided. But does it feel like we're well, in recent history, yeah, we're extremely divided. We're extremely divided in recent history. And part of the reason is, and there's a lot of reasons. First of all, social media doesn't help, right? Social media allows people to go on there and basically be just the worst version of themselves. Right. But on the other side of things, we've come so far in so many different things. The difference is our extremes now have a voice where many years ago they didn't have a place at the table where the adults were discussing things. Right? They didn't. Whether you go back to even recent-ish history. Go back to Reagan. We talk about Tip O'Neill and Reagan, but you go back and look at Clinton. Right? You go look at Clinton and you look over and you're like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, they did, work with the Republicans, and he knew that he had to, and that this is, and they had the contracts of America, and you look around, you're like, oh my goodness, all these, those were times that were very, very divided in some ways. I mean, we had a situation where, a president was impeached. This time for stuff that was dangerously adult. But it's not the most divided times. But I'll tell you one thing. Meghan McCain's right about one thing. We're getting to a point where you're going to have red states, blue states like never before. We have those right now. You go look at the majorities in the country. I think it was Minnesota was one of the only states where it was kind of a middle ground, purplish. Arizona's kind of there right now. But most states are single-party states. And the control, some places is closer, and there's a lot of states where it's a supermajority. That's all kind of what the Founding Fathers and the Republic was all about, though, right? Like, you go to a place where the values of that state and their individuality fit the values that you want. You want more freedom, less government intervention. Then you're going to go to those states. You want places where you can go and you feel like, you know what, I have a right to carry a gun, and I'm going to exercise that right, not because I want to go out and cause trouble or make people anxious, just because it's the right that I have, and I would like to exercise that right for no other reason that it's my right. But it's going to become more that way with bills when, you look at people saying, well, they're restricting, abortion. So, well, they're not federally. That's never going away. I mean, you guys realize that, right? Like, that's in the sense that it's all about states' rights. That's what it should be about, states' rights. The federal government should be there to handle the big lifting when it comes to the international side of things, our borders, war, things of that nature. The federally things. The states should handle the day-to-day workings of people and the lives that they have. So you're going to find red states, blue states. Do I think that we're going to get to a point where we have a lot of blue states and a few red states? No, but it's going to become more pronounced in the coming years because you're finding more and more people leaving California. And where's the average person go, right? Like, and by that I mean like for me, I always tell everybody, we always joke, we're the alt middle. Oh, you don't take a side. No, I take sides on issues. I don't take a singular side on everything. And I also know how to have a conversation with people that I disagree with without basically insulting them. But the other side of this is the fact that we're connected in ways that we never were. So while you live in Arizona, right, or Chicago, Yeah, you live in Phoenix, you live in Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Bangor, Maine, Tacoma, wherever it is you live. We're now connected in ways where we can get our message out, no matter how benign or insane that it is. And that's the other side that our founding fathers didn't have to deal with, which makes us more divided at times than ever before, at least seem that way. Because that's what it's all about. It seems that way. Are you really divided, though? I mean, is that because I'm not? Like, I have friends who are on the left. Most of my friends are on the left. I grew up in Southern California. Most of my friends are in the entertainment industry. They grew up in a very, progressive kind of way, and I love their families. And we don't see eye to eye in some things, and some things we see absolutely eye to eye on, and I think people would be surprised. But I don't live my life like that, where I choose based on a certain thing, and some people do, and that's the thing that's scary. Like the mask man. There's a perfect example of where, everybody thinks that if you don't wear a mask, it's because you're some crazy, evil, white Republican. Is there a lot of people out there that are like that? Yeah. As far as not about evil, but yeah, there is. There's a lot of people out there, though, on the left who don't buy a lot of that stuff either. Same things with the vaccinations. You hear Joey Behar talking about vaccinations, and you just sit there and you shake your head and you think to yourself, are you being serious right now?
So if I have to get a vaccine on my passport, so be it. If you're so scared or so intent, or you're some Republican male who wants to screw around with the libs or something, then don't come on the cruise with me, okay? And also this idea that it's a privacy issue. This is an invasion of my privacy when you are sick in the same building as I am in. I am totally against you coming anywhere near me without a vaccine.
Okay, well, we won't come anywhere near you, and that's fine. But that's the kind of stuff where it's like there's division. You've demonized a group of people. I have a couple super hippie friends. One's white, one's Asian. Super, like micro minibus, straight out of Central Casting. We were talking about it earlier. I mean, the whole 9 yards. If you could go, all right, I need a couple guys, right? Totally, Hirachis. The whole they're all in. It's almost like if you're acting, you're a method actor. You're in. They're like, I'm not getting that vaccine, man. I don't put that stuff in my body. I'm not doing that. I'm not putting that crap in my body. If it ain't natural, I ain't doing it. And I'm laughing because if you want to mess with the libs, we can't have normal conversations. It's got to be the extremes. And that's the problem we have in so many ways. Let's get away from the extremes. And, Washington Post has an article today talking about what does the center right do? Because still to this day, predominantly, we're a center right country. Most people that, because right now the Democrats have the biggest lead since 2012 as far as registered voters. It's expanded tremendously. I think 49% of registered voters are Democrats, and 42% are Republicans. That has expanded big time over the last several months. But a lot of those people are center-right voters. Like Reagan had his blue dog Democrats, right? I mean, they did. And Biden's trying to appeal to that while also trying to keep the dogs of the progressives, over there who are howling at the gate because they want to do a lot of stuff. Most of us all want the same thing. We want our kids to go to a good school. Right? We do. Pay a fair share without overpaying. We want to have immigration that's fair, but not ridiculous. We want a safe country, and we want opportunities. We may differ on some of the things on how to get there, but I think most people want that. But the messaging is always hijacked by the wrong people because they're not in it for those things or solutions. They're in it for themselves. Whether it's COVID, whether it's race, it doesn't matter. And that's the sad thing. No, it's not the most divided times. But I tell you what, if you read tweets all day and are on the internet 24/7 and you watch cable news television, you would think nothing has ever been as divided as this. You think the Israelis and Palestinians are divided? Not like people on Twitter. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from all of you. So many things. Let's talk a little bit about Raycon. You know the best earbuds around? I bet you didn't know that. Well, I'm telling you guys, they're the best earbuds around. Why is that? Because I use them. But why do I think and know that they're the best? Because I've used pretty much everything. And then some. You'd be surprised the stuff I get sent. And I end up giving them away. I'm like, I don't want these. I've tried them. But how I know they're awesome, my son steals them. And he's got those super expensive ones that he wanted that matched his iPhone, and it's got the little white stems. And the minute he gets here, he steals mine. He's like, these are better. You just hear better. Yeah, you hear better. The look is better. The style is better as far as the sound quality and the fit. Raycons has everybody beat. You try them. Put them to the test. Money back guarantee. But Ray J's put together the best earbuds around with no wires, no stems, at a price point that crushes it. Well under $100. They got tons of products. Find out for yourself. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. Save an extra 15%. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
While we have that fully vaccinated 19% of the population, that remains 80% of the population remains unvaccinated, and that is certainly enough to cause a surge.
Dr. Walensky, CDC. Yeah, it's certainly enough to cause a surge, but fully vaccinated. Let's go with the fully vaccinated. So, and let's remember, there's a portion of the population that is rather large that cannot be vaccinated at this point in time. So let's take them out of the equation. When I hear people talk about, my son's 10, he's not getting vaccinated. First of all, I don't think he needs to be vaccinated, but he's not getting vaccinated. Even if, they say you can't count somebody who doesn't get to participate. You can't. Like let's take them out of the equation. And then on top of that, and this is where the weird number games come in. Like the other day, we're talking about the infrastructure bill, right? So Biden comes out and says, and Buttigieg, 19 million jobs are going to be created. This is what the CBO and all these partisan groups in the government say that it will be created because of my infrastructure bill. 19 million jobs. Well, no, actually about 2 million jobs, according to them. Because whether the infrastructure bill ever becomes anything or not, 17 million jobs in the same time frame are going to be, you've added 2 million onto it. Well, it's the same thing with vaccines. First of all, there's a group of people you can't count because they're not eligible for a vaccine. Okay, so let's take them out of the equation. Then there is a large group of people that have already had the virus, so their antibodies are strong, if not stronger, than people that are getting the vaccine. So they also shouldn't be counted. So the real number starts to shrink, and you're like, okay, well, that looks a little different. Is there a possibility there could be a surge? Of course. There's a possibility for anything, right? Anything could happen. Even kids in school.
We should anticipate come September 2021 that schools should be full-fledged, in person, and all of our children back in the classroom.
Well, yeah, I don't think you really have a choice, right? Much like states that are having no choice but to open up because the people that live there, even now, the people that may have supported a governor at one time or another for the measures they were trying to do are at a point where they're like, okay, now it's time for us to get going. Same things. If schools don't reopen, like my son's, he's not going to be going back to school in any real meaningful fashion this year. He may go a few hours a week, but if September rolls around or August in some place next year, next school year, which is a few months off, if they're not in the classroom, parents are going to lose it. They're going to lose it. And there's a lot of schools that are open right now. And we're focusing mostly on these, places like California where they have huge unions and they're still pushing back tremendously when it comes to the things that they want that have nothing to do with COVID before they'll return to the classroom. So we're going to be back to a normalish way sooner rather than later. But the questions remain, and the few of them that are out there, which is how long does this shot or shots last? Well, we don't know. Could be 9 months, could be a year. Probably going to need a booster, but that booster may come a year from now. That booster may be in a position where you only get a shot once every 5 years, and this thing will be done with. How long do the antibodies last? Well, in theory, maybe a year, but nobody really knows because the antibodies can drop down to the level they're undetected. Doesn't mean that they're not there. So we don't really know. You know what we know? We don't know a lot at this point. That's kind of what we know. But I do know one thing. If kids aren't back in school next year in a lot of places in a meaningful way, not where they go 1 day a week or half days, but where they're not back in school, it's going to get ugly. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet and text. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Look, what the defense is trying to do is to convince us that in the middle of this whole thing, George Floyd suddenly confessed that he had taken a whole bunch of drugs. That is highly unlikely. Just if you look at the totality of the situation, it's much more likely that he's trying to exonerate himself. I haven't done drugs. I can't breathe. He's trying to talk himself out of the situation. But why are they doing it? They're trying to plant this doubt in the minds of the jury that maybe what happened is that this guy had just swallowed a bunch of drugs and that's what killed him. Therefore, all of the misconduct that you saw from the police officers doesn't matter because that's what killed him.
No. Well, first of all, it's a defense attorney. So let me, Van, you're pretty smart, dude. I'm no doubt in my mind, you're smart. It's never a doubt. What do you expect the defense attorney to do? Hey, man, he's guilty of everything, but let's go through the trial anyways. You're there. You're there to defend your client. This isn't Idiocracy, right? As you guys seen Idiocracy, just to this day, just a scary documentary is what I call it now. It's a future-mentary. We're looking into the future, where essentially, what was his name? His attorney was Frito, right?
Yes, it was.
It was Frito. It was his defense attorney. It was Dak Shepard. So this guy's totally, I like money. This guy's totally guilty. And like that, that's not what happens. Okay, it's not. Okay? The misconduct has been overplayed, and to the point where it's okay, we get it. We understand. We see you're bringing up expert after expert, but they're also not, I don't know how many times you could say it. We understand that. We've seen the video. And then they're bringing up their experts. And they're asking questions, and you're asking questions. That's the way it works, right? So you're on the stand, whoever they are, whether it's the defendant himself or witnesses, and then you ask questions, and your questions like, was he a good guy? Oh, he's a great guy. Was she nice? She was the nicest. She was. Did they struggle? Yeah, they had some struggles, but they were working hard to get their life back together. They were really working hard, but they had run into some hard times, and this had nothing to do with their choice. It was just stuff that happened. And then the defense attorney comes out and goes, "So you said they were a great person, right? Yeah, they were great. Did so and so do this, and this? Oh, yeah, that was yeah. I mean that was a while ago. Because you're there, you don't come up and go, "Hey, I heard they were great guys." So no, that's it. And the drugs are relevant. Because they're relevant. Because the first doctor that examined the body, the coroner, Right? So you know, the medical examiner, there he is, Dr. Baker, is like, this guy died of a heart attack. He had drugs in his system, and here's his toxicology report, and that's what he died of. Not taking away the misconduct, but if you're the defense, you're painting a picture that, hey, look, while my client may be guilty of overstepping and using his force, the reality is, while he did do that, and we're not here to defend that side of the force in this situation, the end result of the death of it had nothing to do with that. He could have walked the block and had a heart attack. He was already acting erratic. He was already in a position where he was struggling. And you saw that by the fact that he wasn't the model citizen when he was arrested and said, I'll just go sit in the car. You saw what took place. That's what you're trying to do. I don't know what Van Jones thinks. Like, oh, yeah, my guy's totally guilty, but, you know, they're paying us.
But I thought what happened today was despicable. I thought it was despicable to take a man who was dying and struggling for his life and try to take his words and use those words against him when no matter what he said, the reality is the training says you don't have your knee on his back for 9 minutes. You still can't escape the basic misconduct.
No. I don't think you escape the basic misconduct. But you do paint a picture of, you're saying he murdered this guy. What we're saying is he died, and yes, our client was there, and yes, our client, the defendant here, was actively restraining him to the point where he probably did cross a line on when you look at it, but you're overstating the murder. He didn't mean to kill him. And what ended up eventually killing him had nothing to do with the actions of our client on that day. It had all to do with the fact that Mr. Floyd had drugs in his system. And that's kind of the way that these things are supposed to go. And you're finding one juror, two jurors that sit there and go, you know, yeah, I don't think it was murder. I don't. I think he oversteps, and I think that his participation in what went down that day caused eventually the domino effect. But it wasn't murder, and it's just so funny. You can't even have a conversation. But even it's always about race. I mean, my goodness, everything becomes, well, it's race, it's evil, it's bad, it's how dare you. As a defense attorney, that's what you do. You're there to defend. Hell, I just laid out a pretty damn good case. I think I could do a great job. I always said I would love to be an attorney, but I only want to be the attorney that's in the courtroom laying it out. And a couple of my buddies are attorneys, and they work for huge, and they tell me how boring it is. Right? They go, you'd be the person that you'd be what they call the show trial guy. I said, well, what's that? I said, well, they bring essentially. They have attorneys on staffs, and we're talking huge, multi-billion-dollar, law firms, who that's all they do is the trial side of it. Everybody else puts everything together, and then they lay the case out. I said, oh yeah, that'd be the fun stuff, right? Because if you've ever been to court, it's kind of boring. It is. It's like it's what you see on TV. Is broken down, but you watch this. I mean, even first of all, 99% of cases never get to trial where anybody's on the defense. There's a defense. Somebody's on the stand and people are cross-examining. Most of them are pled out, and you go in front of a thing and it's all motion to continue and stuff like that. That to me sounds boring. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. It's about jobs, silly.
744,000 people filed first-time claims for jobless benefits last week, higher than expected, higher than the prior week, and at odds with other data that suggested the labor market is improving. The economy created more jobs last month than in any month of the last 7, and fiscal stimulus from Washington is allowing more businesses to reopen. These latest figures show companies are still laying off workers.
Yeah, and that's understandable because people don't really know what's going on. They're unsettled. Do I hire more? Because we're going to be fully open, and are we going to be fully open next week and next month? Well, I don't know. You look over and you see France is shut down again, and Germany's not too far behind him. Spain's having issues, and you're going, uh-oh. Is that going to happen here? You hear, we could have a fourth wave, fifth wave, sixth wave. It's another tsunami. So why would you go and hire at this moment in time? Because a lot of people are still waiting for that shoe to drop. Like, oh, God, here it comes. Is it a possibility? Of course, anything's a possibility. So there's hesitancy because there's uncertainty. That'll change. And certain states are far more open than other states, too. But a lot of the states that are still struggling to reopen or reopening, rather than the faucet being turned all the way on, it's kind of still a drip, drip, drip. Because those states, they have no choice but to open because people are pushing for it to happen. And at the same time, there's still a psychological hesitancy from a lot of people who are thinking, they're going to shut us down at any time. But it's still about the jobs. Still about the jobs. It's the jobs, stupid. It's the economy, stupid. And we're still in a place where people are uncertain. And then you couple in the other side of it, which is, man, we've been doing okay with less. We've learned to adapt with less. So a lot of these jobs you're going to see in the coming months are going to be the hospitality and service industry because they were so devastated. So bringing them back will be great, but they're the ones who have the most hesitancy because they're the ones who, on a day-to-day basis, don't know whether or not they're going to be open. And under what parameters and guidelines? Do I get is there 50%? 75? Is it fully open? Is it mask, no mask? Is it takeout only? Oh, yeah. I don't know. I mean, what city? Like here in Arizona, it's like the governor said, all right, there's no mask mandate. And then the cities come out, we're going to keep it. And then people are going into stores and like, you should put a mask on. There's a mandate. Well, no, the store wants it. Okay, the store does, and the city does, that the governor doesn't. The governor says he has confusing. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Guns under the microscope today as far as the political microscope, the crosshairs, if you will. And there's a reason that Biden is going to come out and try to do something. Most of what he's going to try to do with the guns is going to be kind of more bark than bite because there's not a lot he's going to do. Everything's going to end up where? It's going to end up in the courts. The courts will eventually have the ultimate decision, the highest court in the land. So you go after things. The assault rifle, you're not going to do that. It's going to be a state's issue, again, for a lot of places. On the other side of stuff, they want to expand background checks. They want early identification of people who tried to purchase a gun but didn't pass the background. I have an issue with that because I think probably 95% of those people are people who are what? Who didn't do anything wrong. And for whatever reason, they didn't pass the background check. And now they're going to be in some sort of database where it's so that there's the trouble there. And I bet you the ACLU and a lot of people can come out and say, that seems like a bit much. So he's going to do what he possibly can. The ghost guns he's going to go after. And I want to see how this is going to be handled because I think a lot of people, even though, there's a lot of gun enthusiasts out there who they like building. They have build parties for these guns. They're putting stuff together, but there's no serial number. It's experimental in a lot of ways. And at the same time, law enforcement, they do worry about that. And there's a reason.
They're not releasing many specifics. We know the president is expected to sign a series, half dozen or so, of executive actions, including one of them that has to do with these so-called ghost guns. These don't have serial numbers. They're sold in home kits, or they can be assembled at home. They're not subject to background checks. The White House wants the Justice Department to issue a proposed rule that would curb the proliferation of these guns.
So we'll see. We'll see if and how that actually works itself out and what it all looks like. When you break it down in the courts because the people with the robes, those 9 that lean right now to the right. Remember what I said about Trump long ago? His greatest achievement when people look back is going to be what he did to the court system. And in particular, the highest court in the land. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from you. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, one of those great organizations that's out there doing what? Fighting on your behalf for things like your Second Amendment rights, making sure that that's not touched, that that's not challenged over and over again in the ways that you would like to see some people out there who'd love to come and just take as much as they could. That's not going to happen. It's just not. AMAC's out there fighting on your behalf. First Amendment. Yeah, that speech thing. Why do we have the Second Amendment? In case the first doesn't work. And those things are great. But they're also out there fighting for common sense immigration reform, making sure Social Security and Medicare aren't messed with, that it's there, that you paid into those things, that they're insolvent. Plus, they offer all kinds of discounts and great deals for travel, restaurant, retail, and everything else. AMAC is there for you. And I'm telling you guys right now, the price is $16, I think, a year. It's just cheap. It's easy, but the benefits are tremendous. Join today. Check out all the benefits and the things they can do for you. AMAC.us/Chad. 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 Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
It's not every day I get to ask a former CIA director this question, but why is there that secrecy surrounding?
I don't know. I think it's probably about to come undone because there is now starting to be enough events that people have focused on, particularly pilots and particularly pilots who have a high reputation among their colleagues.
Aliens. They're among us. Former CIA director James Woolsey right there, talking about it's coming undone. They can't hide it anymore. Pilots are seeing it. People are capturing these things. And not everything, again, UFO, unidentified flying object. We don't know what it is. But you go past a point where it's like, I don't know what that is. That could be a new technology, new weapon, something the military is working on or private industry is working on, to military people going, yeah, that's nothing that we can do as human beings. It just can't happen. You know, and of course the Tic Tac one, if the famous one's 83,000 feet in the air, and then all of a sudden, within a blink of an eye, it is 1 foot off the surface of the ocean. As human beings, you couldn't withstand that as a human. You'd come apart. Just not possible. And Trump, in his last go around with the stimulus, made sure that in that bill that I think it's June 1st, that the Pentagon and the powers that be have to start releasing information about the UFOs. And, of course, we heard from several other people inside the world of the military, not just ours, but others, including the guy that was the highest-ranked military official who's now retired in Israel, who said not only are there beings from other planets, they're here, and Trump wanted to talk about it, and they told him, yeah, no, you don't do that. Well, it's going to come out.
I never thought there was anything to all this. It always seemed pretty far out to me. Don't know what the reality is, but there was one case in which a friend of mine was able to have his aircraft stop at 40,000 feet or so and not continue operating as a normal aircraft. What was going on? I don't know. Does anybody know? We'll have to look into it.
Yeah. He's not saying, oh, there was something that was stopped. His aircraft is stopped. And he's like, I'm in the air and I'm not moving. I'm not going forward or backwards or falling. It's going to come out. Be careful what we wish for. That's if we're not, actually in a simulation, which is always a possibility too. All this craziness. The more we know, the less we know, yet the more we find out. Very interesting. Have a blessed, wonderful day. I know I'm going to. Watch a little golf, relax a little bit, people. Have fun, be kind to each other. And I see Friday. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.